Joe Hart announces retirement at the end of the season. Lots of speculation about why he announced it on a weird podcast with an old man, but
yeah, and he didn't say Celtic once. I don't think he kept saying this club I'm at.
Did he?
Very strange.
Very odd. It was a weird way to do it, but he has done it, and he said, it ends a lot of speculation. There was people saying, well, what does this mean? Are we trying to convince him to stay? Or personally, I think there's probably meetings at Celtic Park where Brendan's going, right, new keeper required, and some bean counter somewhere's going, well, actually, Joe Hart has still not let us know if he's staying to the end of the season. Yeah, so we need to keep that on the table until we know what Joe's doing. And Brendan's like, look, any chance you could help me out here just by saying you're retiring so I can plan for a new keeper? I think that's what I'm going to head my bets on. That's a speculation. But Joe Hart is retiring. We need to give him a good send-off.
Yes.
We need to send him off the right way, as Greg Taylor said on Instagram. I think Joe Hart was an inspired piece of business for Celtic.
Yeah, I've loved him. I have said this season that I think he's going to cost Celtic. That hasn't happened yet since January. So
weird way to show your love. I love you, but you're going to cost us.
No, well,
get rid of him. I need a new. But all before Christmas, Stephen, what was Melly's war cry? Need a new keeper. Absolutely need a new keeper. Unbelievable. Need a new keeper.
Not just before Christmas. At the start of this season. At the start of this season, we needed a new keeper. I still believe that. But this is where we are right now. And Joe Hart's performances recently have kept Celtic in the game.
Kept us in the title race.
Yep, yeah, definitely. And I think I always say it. Very rarely in football do you get to ride off into the sunset. But if MD deserves another title, if we're looking about that dressing room, all those players need to do is get that guy a medal. He deserves to go out in that, because what he brought to Celtic, you can't buy. That leadership, that been there, done it. He was the perfect keeper for Celtic at that time. Probably should have moved beyond him now, but that's not his fault. He's done his bit. He's got Celtic in there. Desperate for Celtic to win the league for him, because I think he's been a really good signing while not being the best goalkeeper, if that makes any sense.
I think Melly's been incredibly harsh to Joe Hart, Stephen. I think Joe Hart, since the turn of the year, has been absolutely fantastic. And I think we would have been hard pushed to sign any keeper that would have done a better job that Joe Hart's done these last couple of months.
Well, my one fear is that this all turns into a careful what you wish for thing. Now, there's nothing we can do about Joe Hart retiring, but from what we've seen in recent seasons from Celtic, and obviously I don't want to drag us back into chat about transfer windows, but from what we've seen, Celtic are very capable of going out and making an absolute mess of this. Yeah. And we could be sitting here next season thinking we didn't know what we had until it's gone. Because if you think Celtic are going to go out and sign a 25-year-old international goalkeeper who's great with his feet and who's got incredible shot stopping.
Just say Barkas, mate.
Yeah, Barkas. Yeah, well, if you think we're going to get that right first time, you're more optimistic. I've got some magic beans to sell you.
Where are those? I've wondered this for a while. Like, occasionally, very, very, very occasionally, Celtic will go out and just get the right guy, a bit of experience, a bit of an older head, and you think to yourself, we did it with Aaron Moy as well.
Yeah,
those type of guys are absolutely valuable in a dressing room. Like, see if we had more guys like that. Not guys at the top of the game, technically, physically, or whatever, but guys who are serviceable, guys that are good players, but they've got that professionalism, they've got that sort of maturity, older head.
Calm down on the pitch.
We would not be in this position.
Bring Aaron Moy on and he keeps the ball. And that got Celtic through a lot last season.
We would not be in this position right now if we had more Joe Harts in the dressing room.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. It's been really interesting to see how the news has been received and how big a story it's been since Joe Hart has announced his retirement, because I was watching all the various reactions to it, and all the English-based podcasts, football podcasts have been reacting to it, and it kind of reminded me of just how big a deal Joe Hart was. Joe Hart, he's a big deal in football, and I'm not asking anyone to get all starstruck about it and all that, but it was interesting seeing all these various clubs responding to the news that Joe Hart has announced his retirement. They were talking about like 75 England caps. He's played at multiple tournaments. He's won the league at Man City. He's been there. I think Vincent Kompany mentioned him as one of the biggest influences in that title winning team at Man City. And it was really just interesting to see that Joe Hart was such an influential figure, not just at Celtic, just in broader football terms. And I know we've had those types of signings before, where you think of, like, I don't know, Freddie Ljungberg and Carlton Cole, guys who were reasonably big names, came to Celtic and did absolutely nothing. That's not the case with Joe Hart. We get 3 seasons out of him, 3 very successful so far seasons, and 2 very successful. I'll tidy that up. 2 very successful seasons and an ongoing season. But the fact remains that he has been here a lot longer than we would have thought. It's maybe people would see it as a short-term signing, but who stays at Celtic for 3 years these days?
Exactly.
It's actually very rare, and especially a guy who like that, who probably could have, if he so desired, could have gone and seen out his final couple of years in football in, let's say, Saudi Arabia. He's got plenty of pals going to these places like Saudi Arabia or
I'm
whatever.
actually quite surprised he retired and never had an MLS for a couple of years or whatever.
He could easily have done it. He could easily have gone and sat on the bench as one of the token English third choice keepers for a big club on probably 3 times the money he was getting at Celtic, but he didn't want to do that. He came to Celtic for the right reasons that we were led to believe. They were footballing reasons. He could have gone and get paid much more elsewhere, but he wanted to play, he wanted to contribute, and he wanted to, if not be the captain, he wanted to lead a team, which is what he's effectively done here. So,
is there another Joe Hart out there? Somebody that's kicking about, maybe sort of backup keeper somewhere for Spurs or whatever towards the end of his career that's sort of got a few England caps that we could pick up?
Can't think. Is Rob Green still going?
No, I was angling at Fraser Foster.
Tim Flowers. Interesting. I think he's been a very good signing for Celtic overall. I think that it's true that he probably could and should have been replaced at some point now, because Celtic have done it again in that we've played a guy right up. There was no phasing out. We've played him right up to the end of his career, and that's him. He's done. He's hung up the boots / gloves on this occasion. But I think overall he's been a big success, and I don't think it's too proper football man of me to say that there are certain intangibles that come with footballers, and it's not all just about like shot stopping stats and all that. If you are a positive influence on the club, and again, I want to marry that to being a success on the pitch as well. It's all very well being a good presence around the dressing room if you're not actually contributing on the pitch. Joe Hart has managed to do both. It hasn't been perfect. It's been rocky at times, and he has gotten older quite rapidly in the last season or so. But overall, I'm very grateful to Joe Hart for coming. I think it was a masterstroke by Ange. Whether it was just a matter of luck and circumstance, he was completely frozen out of Spurs. We've taken a chance on this guy. Let's see if we can rebuild this guy's career for a couple of seasons. Doesn't really matter, because I think it's been a big success.
I think I get what we're doing here. We're going, he's been a good success, but he's had rocky moments, and I just think that he's not really had that many rocky moments to me, more than any other sort of good goalkeeper we've had.
That's what I mean. We'll see in the future what we were up against.
I was having a think about this, and I was like, he's definitely in the top 3 keepers I've had at Celtic. It's probably for me Boric, Hart and Foster. And Foster's probably 1, and then
Gordon in there as well.
He would have made 4. If I did top 4, Gordon would have did top 4, but I did top 3 purposefully to keep Craig Gordon out of it. But for me, he features in my top 3 now. I've loved having him at the club, and I think what you're saying is right, Mel. I think that's an inspiration for the rest of the squad. Let's send this guy out in a high, and he'll want it as well. Is he featured in your top 3?
Aye, definitely does. I think he's just perfect for Celtic at the perfect time. But as usual with Celtic, we rinse him dry, the poor guy.
On the personality thing as well, I have to hold my hands up and say I got it completely wrong about Joe Hart. When he was in England, it's not a guy I thought about a lot, but I kind of had this perception in my head he was just one of these quite tedious banter lad guys.
Decent.
The decent pattern and all that. One of these sort of banter lad English footballers that you wouldn't want to be, you wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes in the company of. But I was completely wrong about that. Whether it's just a case where he's really matured with age and really kind of grown into his role as a leader of a dressing room. But again, couldn't be further from the truth. Anyone who speaks about Joe Hart is glowing about how positive a guy he is, and how respectful and how encouraging he is as a player. So I have to hold my hands up. When I heard Celtic were signing Joe Hart, I thought, no, if one of these, as I say, like patter lads. But it's not the case at all. I think he's been an incredibly positive influence over the club, the fans, and his teammates and his managers as well. So basically, all round, a very good guy, and a very positive signing, and a successful player at Celtic.